Hey, Trace.
Hey Vicki, how are you?
I'm good. All right. So, can you just tell everyone who are you and what is a 22 fund? Let's start there.
Who am I? Well,
Mm.
I'm Buddhist, so that makes me go in a different direction. But I am the founder and managing partner of the 22 Fund. I am a former, well, my business partner says you can't be a former, but I was an engineer on the space shuttle program, started there, been in a variety of businesses and industries, and now in venture capital private equity at the 22 Fund. 22 Fund is an early growth fund. We invest in companies to increase their export capacity. And we call ourselves holistic investors because we have multiple impacts we are trying to have. In general, our two biggest impacts are building generational wealth for women and BIPOC entrepreneurs, and also to create the jobs of the clean quality jobs of the future in underserved communities.
Awesome. I love everything that you're doing. It's so aligned, and it's been amazing to get to know you over the last 6 years. But it didn't start out quite so amazing, did it, when we first met? Let's talk about that. I still remember exactly where I was sitting in this restaurant in LA when Delilah introduced us. And she's like, you have to get Tracy on board. If you're going to do something in LA, Tracy has to give it the blessing. So I sat down and then you went,
Well, I was like, what? This isn't, I can't make any money off this? What are you talking about? I thought it was on that boat, but no, it was at dinner when we did that.
we met at dinner and then the boat was the changing.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, I just wanted there to be a return because, I had started We Are Enough, and Delilah was a co-founder, and we were trying to get women to invest in women and stop giving away their money. But as I know you now, and I always like the Vicki effect and what will Vicki do, I understood where you were going and finally agreed. And I think I even started crying, which is an odd thing for me on that boat. But yeah, I just understood you were trying to do things differently. You weren't trying to have that same return philosophy, let's just say, that is in the old ways.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is just such a huge, I bring this up, not to shame you, my friend, at all. It's like what I have struggled with a lot, and I wonder if you're struggling with this too. I mean, you're going to be the first woman to raise a $100 billion fund, first Black woman on her first fund, which is staggeringly amazing. And just the number of things you have to break through in order to do something that hasn't been done before is so, so challenging. And we all need to imagine a different way of making things happen. Like, I don't know if people on the call understand this, but first time fund managers, so your first time that you want to launch a fund, have a very, very, very hard time doing this because everybody wants to know what you did before. Well, it's like, hello, it's their first fund. They haven't done it before. Well, how do you know we're going to be able to do this? It's like, well, how did anyone ever get started? And the only way people really got started is they had these incredible networks and guys invested in guys and got things started. And that's how it went. And if you don't have like a super sticky, amazing, deep network, you can't get started. So I wonder, so that's just background for people who may not know the struggles along with this. I wonder, as you've seen the racial reckoning in the US, we've witnessed a lot more energy around getting capital into non-white men's hands. Have you seen a shift? Is something changing for you as you're out there?
Well, I think it's a little more insidious than you described it, right? So when you're raising a fund, the traditional LPs they want to make sure you have a track record, the team has worked together, you've invested together. There's a whole list, but they're all catch-22s, right? Because if 98.7% of all assets around the world are managed by white men, first, how do you even get into those firms to get a track record? One, those guys don't die fast enough, so they sit there forever. So I can't get into those firms. And then you say we need to have work together. But if I can't get into the firms, how am I going to work with that person? And then you have to invest it together. Same thing. If I can't get into the firms where I can get a track record, that I can work with someone and we can invest together, how does that work? but it's used to keep us out of the system, right? And unfortunately, the same things are being still said. There's a lot more interest, but not a lot of checks being written and not fast enough. And you'll see this, the funds are super small, the ones that are being funded. So I have hope, but from my colleagues that I see out there also raising, it's still tough. And it's doubly tough if you're a woman, and then if you're a woman of color, triple.
Yep. And so how does this get solved? What are you thinking? We talk about this all the time, like all the different strategies, we're using our influence collectively.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not the network, because, you know, I have a pretty broad network. So, and I know a lot of people. I think we need to get women to really activate in the way, you know, I always say, and you say, that SheEO is the starter drug for investing. It really is. We really have to turn investing upside down. There's so much innovation in finance, but it's all the same people not really innovating. They're just trying to find ways to shift money toward them in different ways and easier. But we really do need innovations. We need to be able to invest differently in the ways that women like to invest, in the impact that women really want to have, along with making money. And then there's got to be somewhat of a mind shift in women. We have to feel comfortable and confident in investing. And there's ways you can do that. So I think I do have hope in the next couple of years it will change, and you'll see more women, especially women of color investors. But if we want more female and women of color entrepreneurs, it has to start with the fund managers.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, we've been having a lot of these conversations from the beginning of the start of this year with the Gender Smart Summit, with all the panels that we find ourselves on all the time, saying the same things to the same people, hoping the behavior will change. But, you know, one of the things we've noticed is a couple of our activators, at least a couple that I know, have stepped in to put money into your fund, to invest in you because we love you and we want you to succeed and thrive. And anyone else who hasn't seen the 22 fund, hasn't met Trace, please reach out. We'll put the link in the chat so that you can talk to her. She's literally in conversation with the who's who of the what's what, the $1 billion doodles out there. And this is the moment, right? We want you to be the first woman to have her first fund be $100 million, and then go allocate that and show everyone else what's possible. So we're massive, massive fans of what you're doing.
Thank you, Vicki.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard.
Right? I can't complain. I gave up complaining for Lent.
Okay.
Don't make me complain.
Whole month? When does it end?
40 days and 40 nights. It's harder than being a vegan, let me tell you.
Maybe we should all go on that little journey with you. I think that would be amazing. We were, from the very beginning, you've really been vocal to me as well about making sure that we're funding Black entrepreneurs and getting more and more applying. And we were very thrilled in the US this year to have an all African-American cohort, which is amazing. And I really do hope that it goes both ways, right? The entrepreneurs with the incredible innovations showing up more and more and getting funded will help more and more investors come in as well, right? So it's this sort of two-sided piece, which we hope will shift things. Are you seeing anyone out there that's doing a great job at this? Moving capital in the direction that you think it is?
Well, I mean, you are, because you decide. We talked about this before it was in fashion, you know, before so many tragedies happened. We talked about it, and you were very intentional in bringing in more women of color. You mean from a LP or a fund manager? LP?
Yeah, LPs, yeah.
I'm not really seeing it. And this, you know, the point is we need to scale.
Yeah. Right.
If it's just one or two, we're not going to scale. There are literally hundreds that invest in white men. And if I name you, you know, someone who's doing fairly okay, I'm not sure why to even do that right now. We need to have this scale, and
2030, what does it look like?
Well, that's only
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
yeah, I mean, this is a decisive decade. We've got to have a sense of urgency around racial, gender, climate, all the justices you can think of. But I do believe in the next 2 to 3 years that you're going to see a massive shift, all by women, frankly. I mean, you can feel it. All of us can feel it, right? We can feel the men, and I love men, but that last vestige of some of them gripping on to the power. And that's why we're like, everyone's like, what's happening? But I think the universe is telling us that we have to do everything different. And it has been telling us that for a while. And now it's pointing right at it, from the pandemic, how it's hitting women, the quote, she recession, which I'm not sure I like that word, but it's more of a we recession, meaning that anything that happens to women will hit our communities harder. So I think women are just going to be like, screw it, I'm tired of this. I'm just taking over. So I think it's going to be, that's what 2030 looks like.
Let's do it. Thank you for everything. Tracy Gray, the 22 Fund. Fund her, amplify. Thank you very much, Trace.